Hi everyone, Neve here, and today I'm doing a tarot tag, and that tag is hashtag Let's Be Tarot Friends. And I think this was started by Tarot is Magic. I think that was the channel name. I'll put the name of their channel on the screen and probably down below. So this is a lot of questions. I just watched their video, and also sorry if I keep like looking not at the camera. I almost never have it filming me, so I have it like reversed, mirrored. And so when I look at myself in the camera, I'm like looking off in this direction. So I have to like kind of remember to look like over here. So anyway, so if I start looking off in different directions, that's why. Anyway, so I wrote down all the questions. There's like 22, and I didn't prepare for this at all, really. So I'm probably gonna pause a few times to grab a few decks to talk about as I come across this. And the very last one is a confession, and as of right now, I don't think I have a confession. So we'll see when we get there. All right. So the first question is, what type of art are you looking for in a tarot deck? And that is such a big question because I have like a wide range of art styles that I really like. I do know, I think it makes more sense to talk about what I kind of don't like or what I don't tend to go for. And that is usually like decks that have not that are very minimalistic, which again, there's going to be exceptions for that because I do have some decks that are a little minimalistic and that I like or even love. So, but in general, I don't tend to go for that. I like really, I like art that has a lot going on with it. But I did pull out one deck because that's the only thing I prepared for this video was I pulled out a deck for the first question. And just to give an idea, an example of one of the art styles that I actually really like, and here's the bag. This is the bag that I made for it. This is the Cosmic Slumber Tarot, by the way. And yeah, so I pulled out this one to talk about this question because this one kind of shows what I'm talking about. Let me see if I can get up close here. All right, so it's, and it's not very bright. Let me see. All right, maybe I will overlay a top down and go through the deck. So yeah, it's basically a lot of I don't know, like I wouldn't say it's a limited color palette, but it kind of is. Like it's like they picked a color palette and that's what they stuck with for the whole deck. Because there's purples and oranges and yellows and greens and blues. So lots of different colors for sure, and different shades of those colors. But they all sort of have the same feel, and it feels limited. Like the colors that are used do feel limited, and I find that I actually really enjoy that. Like the artwork, it has a lot going on that I can read into and all of that, but it's but the color palette, it's not, I don't know, it's not natural. I guess it's very limited, and I like that. And there's other decks that I have that are also that limited color palette, but I didn't pull them out for this since I'm mostly just answering questions, and I've shown all my decks like a gajillion times on my channel. So I think I decided that I wasn't going to bring out a lot of decks. So yeah. So what do you search for in a deck? That's similar. I guess, I don't know how to answer that. Like I need to have an initial draw to the deck, something that's like, I see it and go, wow, that's really interesting. Or, I just backed a Kickstarter and I wasn't planning on doing this, but I saw this on Modern Metaphysics channel. I saw this on their latest new releases and stuff, or stuff that's coming out. And this was it's a current Kickstarter that's going right now, and I had to have it. So it wasn't on my list of things to get, but I went ahead and I backed it. So yeah, and that is the Gourmet Tarot. And so I guess for this question, what do I search for in a deck? I'm going to use this one as an example because I just basically purchased it. But the reason I purchased this is because one, it's an interesting concept. It's food, but it's very thoughtfully done, and that's the thing that I really like. I like decks that are very thoughtful, that they're not just thrown together. There's meaning behind what's on them, you know, what's on the cards. What they chose for each card makes sense to me. Yeah, and so this is the Gourmet Tarot, and the artwork is stunning because it looks like anime food, which, you know, I'm a big fan of. Yeah, I'm a big fan of anime, and then, you know, I'm obviously a fan of food, but anime food is like in a world of its own, you know, in art style, you know, and so I was immediately drawn to that. But if that's all it was, I wouldn't have purchased it. But you know, looking over the cards and seeing how well they depicted these scenes of food with the tarot card, and how much it makes sense. So like they have a pretzel for the lovers. So, you know, they loop together, they're connected, joined. That makes sense. They had just a single egg before it's cracked as the Fool. That kind of stuff. Like, it makes sense. Like, there's the artwork makes sense. So, and I think that's what I kind of look for in a deck. I need the artwork to make sense to me. I do. Oops, sorry about the dog. I do tend to pick decks that are a bit more practical and less. I don't know the right term. Like too subjective, I guess. But like I like to look at a deck and kind of know what it's telling me. And I may or may not need the book, but I prefer not to use the book. So I like to be able to look at a card and understand what it's saying, if that makes sense. All right. So the next one. This is. What deck are you most intrigued by right now? What deck am I most intrigued by right now? I think I'm going to pause this and think for a second, and then I'm going to answer it. Okay, I think I got one. Actually, I grabbed a couple, but yeah, so I chose my Japanese decks. So yeah, so I've been learning Japanese for about 15 months now or so, and so I have a few Japanese decks, and they're really great. This one is I'm dropping things here. This is the Dragon God cards, and I think it's Rujin Kado, if I'm trying to remember how to say that. And here's the backs, and you know, again, I'm not sure because the way the camera's sitting, it makes these look a little darker. But yeah, maybe I'll keep it right here, and then I'll zoom in and editing. So these cards are completely in Japanese, and even the book, which is what I actually just dropped. Here it is. Here's the book. The book itself is completely in Japanese. There's no English whatsoever. So I think what intrigues me the most about these decks, the Japanese decks, is being able to use these decks and pretty effortlessly, being able to translate them immediately, or understand. Not so much translate them, but understand what they're saying immediately. And so I think that's what's intriguing me right now. I really want to be able to use these decks without having to open my translator or without trying to translate. Then I also have this one here. This is the Shinwa Oracle. Here's the box. This one actually does have English in it. So it's less, you know, I mean, it makes it more accessible to me, which is great. But it's less of a challenge. So it makes quick and dirty readings easy to do, and the artwork on this is really nice. Let's see. Yeah. I mean, I love the artwork on the Chinois Oracle, and I do really like this deck. It's just I would like to be able to use this more intuitively without having to go into the book, and being able to understand what it's saying and read what it's saying, and get a message, like an actual useful message from these. So yeah, I think that's my answer to this question is pretty much all of my Japanese decks, but more specifically, I think the Dragon God deck, because I found I really like this deck with a lot of different tarot decks. So yeah, I think that's what intrigues me the most right now, being able to understand my Japanese decks. All right, so next question. So the next question is, what card do you always check out first in a deck? And I have mentioned this before, but that would be the Eight of Pentacles. That is my favorite tarot card, and I feel like it's a card that kind of represents me and how I see myself. I see, you know, I'm an artist. I like to create. I like to, yeah, like it's a card that feels very like ISTP, if we're talking about the Myers-Briggs, and I'm an ISTP. And so, I don't know, it's something about that connects to me. And hey, there's my dog. She just came in from outside. She's the one that makes all that noise during all my videos. Hey, Shelter, come here. Come here. So, you can't see, but she's down here. All right, so anyway, the Eight of Pentacles is my card. It's, I mean, the Queen of Wands is my significator card, but the Eight of Pentacles is a card that, that I really connect to. So it's important for me that I like, at least like the Eight of Pentacles. Did I say Eight of Wands before? I'm not sure. So it's important to me that I at least like the Eight of Pentacles in a deck. And there are decks that I have that I don't really even like the Eight of Pentacles, but I still keep that. I still keep that deck. You know, so it's not a deal breaker per se. It's not a deal breaker, but it is a card that's important to me. So I like. It's a real bonus if I love the Eight of Pentacles in a deck. So. All right, so the next one is, so when I went through and wrote down all the questions, I think I misread this one because I very quickly watched the original video, and so I was kind of having a different idea of what this question was in my head until I watched the original creator talk about it. And I think what was meant by this is if there's a deck with a card that you don't like, would you miss out on the deck? Like, would you pass along the deck? Like if I got a deck and there's a card in that deck that just I really do not like. I mean, if it's an Oracle deck, then that's easy. I'll just take that card out because it's not that important. It depends on that Oracle system. But with Tarot, I wouldn't be able to do that. I can't do that. I gotta have all 78 cards in there. So if it's one card that I just really don't like, I think I would keep the deck. Well, I would always keep the deck. I'm not one to give away decks. I don't go through and declutter. So I'm very stringent about what I do bring in to my collection. And so if there's a deck that I'm considering and there's one card that I really dislike, it would have to I think as I'm thinking about it, I think I would pass that along. I think I wouldn't get the deck. I would have to really hate that card though. And like, because I if I'm interested in the deck, then there must be a lot of different cards in that deck that I actually really like. So, but if I really, really hated a card and I'm not going to pull it out because it's a tarot, Man, I'm sitting here thinking about this. But, you know, like I said, I am a lot more stringent about what I bring into my collection because I know I'm not going to get rid of it. I just don't do that. I don't, like, I don't want to say that I'm a hoarder. That's not true. Though my room is a bit messy right now. But I'm not a hoarder. It's just, and that's more of a condition. So I don't even want to say that as like a joke or anything. But I don't needlessly hang on. I have no problem getting rid of things sometimes, but I think when it comes to my tarot decks, I just keep them. And I have a few decks that I actively dislike or even hate, and I still keep them. So yeah, I make sure that the decks that I bring into my collection, I actually really like. What is your favorite and least favorite card? So my favorite card is the Eight of Pentacles, as I said. I also like the Queen of Wands, and I like the Magician in the Major Arcana. I really like the Magician. I connect more with the Magician versus, say, the High Priestess, which the High Priestess and the Moon are probably my least favorite cards. And I think it's because they're so... there's so much unknown about them. Does that make sense? Like there's, I find it difficult. Those sorts of abstract concepts are a little bit difficult for me to wrap my brain around sometimes. I like things that that are a bit more objective, if that makes sense, and and makes sense to me. I often find like me stumbling over my thought processes when either the Moon or the High Priestess show up. And I think a lot of people in like the tarot community, the occult community, the witchcraft community, whatever, I think they see themselves as the High Priestess, which I understand. But for me, I see myself more as the Magician. So the Magician makes sense to me. The High Priestess is like a bit of an enigma, and I think that makes me uncomfortable. So, but I think, gosh, I think the Moon might be my least favorite. I don't know, man. It's one of those two, I guess. But, you know, ask me 5 minutes from now and maybe it'll be a different one. So the next one. So what do people close to you think about tarot? So my partner, my husband, is very supportive, very, very supportive. I mean, I've got my own witchy room here, which is a mess right now. Sorry about that. It's because we had all of the windows and the siding replaced in our house. And so everything had to be moved away from the windows. So like I have bookshelves and altars and things and all of that stuff had to come down and get like pushed to the center. And I just, it's been a few months since we got that done, and I have yet to really put everything away and reorganize. All my books are out of order. So yeah, that's why my room is a bit of a mess. But yeah, so my husband's super supportive. My kids are very supportive, and, that's really the only people that are close to me. I have, more extended family, and, my mom's very supportive. My dad is supportive, sure. I don't think I have very many people in my life that are actively against my tarot practice or my witchy practice or anything like that. And honestly, if they were, they wouldn't be very much a part of my life. So yeah, in general, I'm very lucky that I have a very positive support system. Yeah. So, and some of my kids even have some tarot decks, but I don't think they're all that into them. Yeah, so it's just not their thing, I think. All right, so how do you feel about esoteric stuff in tarot? I actually like it, and which might sound funny because I just said that I like things to be a bit more straightforward, and like the High Priestess is like one of my least favorite cards because it's a bit more of an enigma. It's a bit more of I don't know. But it's not the it's not the unknown part of that that I connect with the esoteric stuff, because esoteric stuff to me feels a lot more about knowing. It's a lot more like, I don't know, Gnostic or something like that. But I find that when it comes to that kind of stuff, there's a lot of meaning in it. And if I can really work out the meaning and work out the system, I really like that. And so the esoteric type of decks I actually find interesting, and are things that I want to use in a very spiritual practice. They're not necessarily things that I would pull for everyday questions or something like that. Probably not everyday readers, but they would be something that I would do a deep dive study on. And yeah, so I think that's how I feel about that. So which system do you like? RWS, Thoth, Marseille, and why? So that's an easy pick for me. It would be RWS. That's Rider-Waite-Smith. And I think that is it's the most prevalent one. It's the one that is, I think it's the one that's the easiest to make lots of different versions on that are based on that. There's, because the artwork is the type of artwork that you could read into, it's very scenic. I think that lends itself well to a lot of deck creation, and because of that, RWS is the vast majority of decks we have out on the market. And you know, I do like Marseille too. I still need to do a Marseille study. I have my Jonas Tarot and 2 other Marseille decks that eventually I'm going to do a Marseille study because I am interested in it. But I think by and large, I just go back to RWS, and that's the vast majority of my decks, RWS. So, yeah. All right. So thoughts on cardstock. Cardstock is important to me. In fact, I am going to grab a couple decks. Okay. So, I grabbed 2 decks. So my favorite cardstock, and I've shown this tons of times before on my channel, but so my favorite cardstock, and this is the bag that I made for it here. This is from the Anima Mundi Tarot, and this is by far the best cardstock that I have ever come across. Yeah, so the cardstock itself, it's fairly thin. I do prefer thinner cardstock because I like to riffle shuffle. I do prefer that. Overhand shuffling, I end up flying cards everywhere, whereas riffle shuffling, I don't know, for some reason I get a lot more control out of it. So I like cards that are on the thinner side, not too large. I have very small hands, so not too large, and not too small either, but fairly thin and bendy, but good, sturdy cardstock. You know, I'm not worried that these cards are gonna like break or crease or something like that. Not like the what is it? The Great Outdoors Tarot that I gave a scathing review of. So go check that out if you're interested. But that one, I love that deck. It's just the cardstock is horrendous, and I have heard. Oh, the light just shifted in here, but I have heard that they're going to redo that deck on better cardstock. So we'll see. Woo! See, the light shifting is like crazy in here right now. But yeah. Anyway. So yeah, so I don't want flimsy cardstock, but I want it fairly thin enough that I can shuffle it easily. And this deck is fantastic for that. But there's decks that I have that I hate the cardstock on, and one of these is the Grunge Tarot. And yeah, just opening up, this is the bag I made for it. It's like a mixtape, and it comes out of the zipper. So yeah, so I love this deck. This was given to me by my husband. It's a really, really fun deck. But one, the cards themselves are too large for my hands. I will eventually go through and cut off all the borders, but you know, that could be years from now that I actually do that. So I can't riffle shuffle this deck. I can only overhand shuffle. So it is what it is. And it's a little too glossy, whereas the Anima Mundi is a bit matte. It's kind of got a sheen to it, but it's matte, and it's got a linen coating, so it's easier to shuffle. Whereas this one is glossy. So yeah, I mean, I prefer linen. Cardstock is important to me because I got to be able to use the deck, but it's not so important that I won't get the deck, even though I know I don't like the cardstock. It depends. I will tend, like, if the mini versions of a deck are not too mini, I would prefer to get those. Like, I've had the Oak, Ash, and Thorn. Yes, Oak, Ash, and Thorn on my list for a couple of years now. And I'm glad I didn't get it when I first, when it was first on my radar. But I am planning to eventually get it. And they came out with a mini version. And I like that the mini version is not too mini. Because the cards, the decks that I got from... so the Cosma Visions and the Prisma Visions, yes, this were the names. Those ones, I got the mini versions, and they're just a little too small. I love the cards themselves, but the mini versions are just too many. So yeah, so they can't be too small, but yeah. So cardstock is important. In short, because cardstock is important to me. But it's not necessarily a deal breaker. But it is a consideration I take in as to whether I get a deck or not. All right, so next one. Bags or boxes? I wonder what I prefer. And I've got a gajillion bags that I make. And, you know, yeah, making bags is it's a part of the bonding process for me with a tarot deck. I sew, I embroider, I knit, you know, all that stuff. I don't really knit bags, though. But like, I'm big into creative stuff, so so making bags for my decks, and picking out the fabric and picking out the embroideries and the fun things that I do with them. I mean, I love that stuff. So yeah, definitely bags. All right. How did you learn about tarot, or how did you get into it? I have no idea. I have no idea. I think I just kind of always sort of knew about it since I was a kid. And because I got into witchcraft and paganism and things like that when I was a teenager. I started that path when I was 14. So I've been on that path for an extremely long time. I am old. So I've been like... And I'm sure I knew about it before then, but I have no idea how old I was when I got my first tarot deck. I don't even know what my first tarot deck was. But yeah, so I've just kind of always sort of been into it. Not... Because I grew up in a Jehovah's Witness household. So yeah, obviously we didn't have that. But... I became, you know, a practicing witch when I was 14. But I was aware of things like that for at least a few years before I started on that path. So yeah, anyway. So best news in tarot you heard lately? I don't know. I don't know. Well, I mean, I guess I could say that finding that... you know, I could say that the best news I heard was that they're going to redo the Tarot of the Great Outdoors on better cardstock. So we'll go with that. All right. How many decks are on your to get list, my wish list? A good amount. Like, I did my wish list video. I think when I edit this, the card pop-ups are going to be over there. I think they're not going to be over here. No, they're going to be over there. Yes. All right. So, I did a video near the beginning of the year going over my wish list for the year, and I've already gone off that list. But I am trying to limit myself to 20 decks this year. So go check out my wish list and see what I like there. But, you know, I've already gotten a couple of things that were not on my wish list. So, like, for example, that Gourmet Tarot, that's going to come out in like June or July. And then I also got the Mars Power Tarot. That was another recent video that I did. I love that one, and I really like their Star Power and their Moon Power decks too. I don't really like the Jupiter Power one though. I don't know. It's just, it doesn't click for me. But so like I love those. Those are on my wish list. Yeah, I got a pretty extensive wish list. And so what I was going to get this year, that video had said that I was planning to get for April was going to be the Ocean Tarot. And I like that one a lot. It's been on my list. It is pricey though, even for like, it's a little higher than my max tarot budget. I was going to get the Ocean Tarot. I still am going to get it. I'm just, I'm not sure when I'm going to get it. But I think I took the Tiltwick Tarot off my list. I really, really like it, and I'm really, really drawn to it, and I can picture myself doing a lot of like pathworkings type stuff with that deck. But once I calculated the shipping for that deck, it was going to cost me over $100, and I can't bring myself to spend that kind of money on a tarot deck. So yeah, I think I might have taken that one off my list. All right, so if I could only keep 3 decks, which ones would I keep? See, this is something I should have planned before I did this video. So I would definitely keep, let me go grab it. Okay, so I was going a lot of different directions with this, but I think I narrowed it down. I was gonna pick like 1 tarot deck, 1 Oracle deck, and 1 Lenormand deck, because that seemed like the most practical kind of way of approaching this question. Like, I'll keep 1 of each type, and there we go. So if that were the case, I have the tarot deck. This would be the deck that I would keep if I had to pick just 1 deck to take with me on a deserted island, and this is it, and I can't take any other deck. This would be my Anna K Tarot. So there we go. So it's my favorite deck. I've talked about it a bunch of times before on this channel, so I'm not gonna go into it too much, but it's the deck for me. I don't use this deck to read for others. This is really only a deck for me, and yeah, so I would keep my Anna K Tarot as my number 1 tarot. And then I did also pick a Lenormand deck. So I picked my Bitmoji Lenormand. And let me see if I can get this out. I have it in a tiny little bag. So let me get the extra cards out. So yeah, so here's the bag. So I'm not sure if you can see because of the camera. There we go. But it's my little Bitmoji, so it is me. So of course I would choose this deck. I could have also chosen my Long Weekend Lenormand, which is the Lenormand deck that I made myself. I did all the artwork for and things like that. And I call it the Long Weekend Lenormand because I did it all in one long weekend. And it is up on MakePlayingCards, but I haven't bought that deck. I only use the deck that I physically created. So I actually have no idea how good the deck is once you buy it. A few people have bought it, but no one's ever reached out to me. So like, I don't know if there's anything that I should change about the deck or not. I need to eventually just buy that deck myself and see. But yeah, so if you're interested, I do have a Lenormand deck on MakePlayingCards. So, all right, so that is the Lenormand. And, I could not figure out which Oracle deck that I would want to keep. Like, I was going back and forth on a lot of them. So I decided to just grab another tarot. So I decided to pick my Star Trek tarot. This is the Star Trek, the original series, and it's the independent version. It's not the Insight Editions TNG one, which I thought I would actually get that one because I am a huge Star Trek fan. Look at my Star Trek earrings there. Yeah, I am actually a massive Trekkie, and so I love Star Trek a lot, and which is why I just went ahead and chose this one for the other tarot deck that I would keep. Yeah, so this deck is fantastic. It's every episode is represented by a card, and it is a tarot deck. And there's keywords on it. It's information about the episode. I mean, the creator did such a good job with this deck. I'm endlessly thrilled with this deck. So I think it's a prized possession for me, and I don't think I would ever get rid of this. Again, I don't get rid of decks, but, you know, if I did, this would definitely not be one that I got rid of. All right, so that was that. So the 3 decks that I would keep. So how does tarot affect my everyday? Well, I try to do a nighttime reading every single day, and I do try to pull a card every day, not necessarily a tarot card, but a morning card pull, but I don't always do that. So I would say it doesn't really affect my everyday, but there are times that I think that certain situations will be happening, and I think, oh, this reminds me of this card or that card, or this is what a tower moment this is, or what a 6 of Pentacles moment this is. You know what I mean? So that sort of thing, I think. Yeah. All right. So if you could turn back time, would you learn tarot in a different way? And yeah, I think I would. I think I would have taken more, because I've been doing tarot for, you know, since I was a teenager, so a very, very long time, like over 20 years. So I've been doing tarot for an extremely long time, and but at the same time, sometimes I feel like I'm still very much a newbie at it, because there are a bunch of times that I just still like, I got nothing from this. Let me open the book. You know, let me read some stuff from the book for this. And yeah, so I don't know, maybe you know, and I feel like the past probably 5 years is when I've really gotten back into tarot. And so I think I would have been a bit more focused on it if I could redo everything. But I mean, it's life, you know, life happens. I have 3 kids, and you know, I was a mom for a long time. I mean, I'm still a mom, but you know, they're all older now. Actually, I have a kid that's about to graduate high school. So yeah, so like that phase of my life of being that sort of constantly being needed is kind of past a little bit. But yeah, I'm still needed, of course. But that moment, I can focus more on myself is kind of what I'm saying. And because of that, I've, you know, really delved much more into tarot now. So yeah, I think I would have been more, I would have made it more of a priority, I think. And I think that would have benefited me, because I kind of wish I kind of feel like I haven't made as much progress with my spiritual path or my tarot path or things like that, because other things were so much more important at the time. So yeah, I don't know. I guess I would make it more of a priority. What are your thoughts on the 3 of Swords? So I think the 3 of Swords to me, like we often see it as the heartbreak card. Let me see. I've got a bunch of decks right here. Let me see if I can find the 3 of Swords in this Anna Kay, because I'm blanking on what it looks like. Okay, I found it. It was nearly the last card. All right, so this the Anna Kay actually has a pretty like, it's not the heart with the 3 swords in it. But it does sort of show a bit of like a heartbreak, which is the typical sort of understanding of the 3 of Swords, or what a lot of people interpret it as, because it's a heart with 3 swords jabbed through. So obviously it's the heartbreak card. And there is that element of it. And if I was reading a reading that where that made sense in the context of the reading, I might read it like that. But I think in general, because the swords are the suit of the mind, and which sort of clashes with that idea of heartbreak, which is a lot more emotional. It's more of a it's more of a cups sort of thing going on there. Because the swords is the suit of the mind, I think of the Three of Swords as sort of an imbalance between heart and mind. Like what we want, what we desire, is really not what we need. It's, you know, it's not the logical choice. There's a big clash of logic versus emotion, and I think that's what I sort of see the Three of Swords as. Yeah, it's because a lot of people see the Three of Swords as, oh, it's the heartbreak card. You're going to get your heart broken, you know, something like that. And like I said, depending on the reading, I might actually read it that way. But yeah, because it's the suit of the mind, I feel like for me, it makes more sense that it's a clash of heart versus head. You know, it's, yeah. So it's kind of a heart versus head sort of card for me, where something's going on that maybe doesn't even make sense, or there are emotions going on, but it doesn't make sense. You know? Yeah, so in general, I think it's a clash of heart versus mind. So, the next one. How many decks do you have right now? Probably over 100, because I got over 30 decks last year, because I did all the decks that I got in 2023 video, and I think it was just over 30 decks. So if I remember, when I upload this, I'll put a card pop up. Yeah, so there's that. It might be over here. I'm really not sure, because it's mirrored. I'm not sure if it's here or here. Anyway, so yeah, so I got like over 30 decks in 2023. I'm planning on getting 20 this year, and I've already gotten like 5 or 6. And before I got 30 decks, I had like 60 something. So yeah, I definitely have about 100 decks. We'll say that. All right. If you could befriend someone, excuse me, if you could befriend a person on TarotTube, who would it be? I don't know. I think everyone that I'm interested in being friends with. I don't know that I really have TarotTube friends. I guess I do. Yeah, there's a few that are like that post, that comment on my videos. Thank you. and I try to watch theirs. Like, I think it's more of a mutual, I enjoy your videos, you enjoy mine, that sort of thing. But I don't know that there's anyone that I really talk to outside of TarotTube, like, outside of commenting on each other's videos. So I guess I would like to, be more of that kind of friend with some people. So I don't know. So if you want to, if you are a TarotTuber and you want to hang out with me and chat with me and be friendly with me and things like that, I do spend a lot of my time on Instagram, so you could go check me out there. Yeah, so come be tarot friends with me. Anyway, yeah, so it's not a specific person, but, I'm kind of open to whoever really wants to talk to me, and if we click, and that's great, and we could be tarot friends. So what is your favorite part of the day to do tarot? So I'm really bad at remembering to do my morning card pulls. So I think, and it's funny because I am a morning person. I'm more of a morning person, but I don't think I'm a spiritual person in the morning. Like I wake up pretty early, and I don't really have a problem with that, with waking up early. I am more of a morning person, but I don't really like to do spiritual stuff in the morning, like a morning meditation or the morning card pulls that I constantly forget, or things like that. So so it's not the morning. I think it's more like the afternoon, because I'm filming this at about 2:30 now. I don't have a clock near me because I'm filming with my phone. But like I do a lot of my filming and work stuff at like midday, so that tends to be when I do witchy stuff too. And it also, this room is not insulated, so if the weather's bad, I have to put on a heat lamp or something like that to warm up the space. So I think that's a lot of the reason why I wait until midday to do spiritual stuff. Right now it's not bad. I don't even have the heat lamp on, so yeah. But yeah, so I would say midday, probably around 1 to 3:30, somewhere in there is when I like to do the tarot readings and things like that. So, and I do a nightly reading, try to every day. I do better with that one, but than the morning card pull. But yeah, so I think midday. All right, a confession. I don't know. I don't know what my confession is. I don't know. Maybe I could say that, you know, those of us in TarotTube or who film or and talk about our tarot practice, things like that, maybe we give off the idea that we're doing tarot all the time. We're constantly pulling cards. We're so diligent with our morning card pulls. We're so, you know, and clearly I've already mentioned several times that I'm not good at that. I'm not good at my card pulls. I do try to keep to some schedules. Like I really try to do my moon readings and things like that. But and this year I have been doing that faithfully, but last year I missed a bunch of moon readings. So, and I do those like 4 times a month because they're, I do the full, the new, and the other 2 quarter moons. So, you know, I got 4 of those to do a month. That's 4 things that I definitely try to do. And I try not to skip them, you know, and so far this year I haven't, but I know that I'm probably going to skip it. I'm going to miss a moon reading sometime this year. So I don't know. I think I'm definitely not always doing tarot. I find myself vegging in front of my computer and watching YouTube way too much. Sometimes I feel like I watch too much TarotTube versus actually doing tarot. So, I mean, that's something in and of itself there. There might be times that I create, that I'm only really doing a tarot reading because I need the video content for my channel, even though I only have like, you know, 5 people that watch my videos, but thanks guys. But yeah, so I mean, sometimes I think you know, it might, maybe that's a confession, that sometimes things appear more performative, I guess. And for me, my spiritual practice, my tarot practice, is a very real thing. It's something I take very seriously. But I am also trying to create content. So sometimes there's a little bit of a conflict there of creating content versus having that real spiritual practice. Excuse me. And the dog's back in, and I'm starting to lose my voice. so I think we'll cut it off there. But like, there are some videos that I do just for the videos. A lot of times the card walkthrough, the deck walkthroughs are a bit more of, well, I have content, you know, and every once in a while when I forget to pause my Witch's Moon box, I'll get a Witch's Moon box in, and I was like, well, you know, well, there's a video. Yeah, there's an unboxing video. So I mean, it is what it is. That's the nature of this sort of, you know, sharing your practice online. Sometimes things are just made for content, you know. So there we go. There's a confession, which I don't think is too much of a confession. I think we all kind of understand that there are some videos that some of our favorite creators are making, that maybe their heart isn't like completely in, but they are just making content. Does that make sense? Like, yeah, I think we all kind of understand that. So yeah, so there's my confession. Some of my videos are just there for content. All right, so oh, and you know what? I'm gonna add a little bit more to that. the tarot tag videos, which this is one of them. Those videos I tend to get the most views on. You know, I don't get a lot of views at all on my channel, but the tarot tags, a lot of times I'll get 100, 200, maybe even 1,000 views, which for my channel is a lot. And so, like, there was a time that I was, you know, doing a lot of those tarot tags. Sorry about the dog. So I was doing a lot of those tarot tags because they were getting views. But I got really sick of a lot of them. And it's absolutely no judgment on the people who created those tags. But I found I've been really bored with a lot of those tags. And a lot of times it's because they're just about decks. And there have been some newer tags that come out that are about decks too that I've considered doing because it does look fun, but at the same time it's like, what am I going to say in this video that I haven't already said in like 50 other, like 10 other videos about the Anna K Tarot or whatever. Like, I've talked about these decks a bunch, and I just, like, I think I don't want to cling on to tarot tags anymore as content unless it's something that really grabs me. And there's absolutely no judgment on the tarot tags having to do with decks. Because I still watched a lot of those. That they are fun to watch. I just, for my channel, I think I want to try to focus more on practice. And if there's tarot tags having to do with practice or something like this where there's a lot of just like talking, it's not necessarily about the decks themselves, but it's a lot of talking. I think that I'm drawn a bit more to now, versus just your top 10 decks right now, or the deck that makes you think of this, or the deck that fits this, or the deck that, you know, I don't know. For me, it also feels a bit too consumer-y, you know, and I say that as someone who is a big-time consumer. So yeah, I consume. And I buy a lot of decks, and I'm very privileged in that, and I'm able to get a lot of decks. And I've definitely gotten decks because of someone else on YouTube talking about that deck. I just backed that Gourmet Tarot because because it was on a YouTube channel, and I was just like, oh my gosh, you know? So, like, I definitely participate in that. It's just, I think I want to try not to do so many tarot tags having to do with decks specifically. And I want to try to do more tags that are, or more just general content about practice. So there we go. That was really long, but there we go. Thank you so much for watching this nearly hour-long video. Yeah, thank you. So I will see you next time. Bye, everyone.